أصحاب الفضيلة، آل الفقيد، أيها الإخوة والأخوات، brothers and sisters، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. كما وأني أدعوكم تكرما بإعادة تلاوة الفاتحة عن روح المرحومة فقيدتنا المبرورة الدكتورة غادة ديب مصطفى بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters, for being here with us this evening to remember Dr. Ghada Mustapha. May Allah bless her soul. We will begin this memorial celebration with a recitation from the Holy Quran recited by Zainab Osama Makki, the niece of the deceased Ghada, after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Want to sit here, or that's enough?
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك صوت عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة.
Shukran. Thank you, Zainab. That was a great recitation. As I mentioned, Zainab is the niece of the late Dr. Ghada, and she is my granddaughter too. And now, والآن سنستمع سيداتي وسادتي إلى ما تيسر من السيرة الحسينية المباركة مع الأخ الكريم الشيخ محمد موسى بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. وإلى روح كل التعازي للمرحومة فقيدة الصبا الدكتورة غادة ديب مصطفى، لوالدها المهندس ديب مصطفى، والحاجة والدتها نوال مصطفى، وزوجها الدكتور رضا، ولإخوتها وشقيقها وأولادها وكل عائلتها وأسرتها، وإلى روحها الطاهرة سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين المظلومين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، ومسلوب العمامة ظلما والرداء. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. هذه دارهم تهيج شجوني كيف حبس الدموع بين الجفون. جودي بالدمع فوق خدي، جودي هذه دار صحبنا يا عيوني. نعم هذه الدار أصبحت تعذبني بفراقهم. رحلوا والفراق صعب ومر، وبما لا أطيقه حملوني، والله حملون ثقلا كبيرا بفراقهم، واصلوني دهرا وما كنت أدري بعد وصلي ورحمتي يهجروني ودعوني وأودعوا الهم قلبي ليتني مت قبل ما ودعوني فدعوني أحن طورا وطورا أسكب الدمع في الربوع دعوني أيها اللائمون كفوا ولكن بمصاب ابن فاطم ذكروني نعم لا يوم كيومك يا أبا عبد الله تلك ذكرى بها تهون الرزايا وهي من أمهات ريب المنون تركت زينبا تنادي حسينا يا ابن أمي ووالدي روعوني غيرتني مصائب الدهر حتى أصبح العارفون بي ينكروني فإذا ما ندبت جدا وعما يا الله فإذا ما ندبت جدا وعما وأبا في صياطهم ضربوني نعم فيما يروى أن أمير المؤمنين سلام الله عليه كان في كل ليلة يأتي إلى قبر الزهراء يجلس عندها ويقرأ القرآن وينادي وحبيبتاه وشوقاه وكان كلما اشتد شوقه إليها جعل يردد هذه الأبيات عند قبرها الشريف. ها مع أمير المؤمنين يقول مالي وقايبت على القبور مسلما قبر الحبيب فلم يرد جوابي أحبيب ما لك لا ترد جوابنا أنسيت بعدي خلة الأحباب. وبعد هذه الصورة وأسألكم الدعاء ثم غفت عيناه عند قبرها الشريف وإذا به يرى الزهراء تناديني يا علي ارجع ارجع إلى الدار فإن ابنتي زينب قد استيقظت من نومها مرعوبة. نظرت إلى مكاني وجدته خاليا فاستوحشت وأخذت بالبكاء. ساعد الله قلبك يا أبا الحسن. قام أمير المؤمنين مسرعا إلى الدار وإذا يرى زينب تضع عصبة الزهراء على رقبتها تشمها تناديها كأني بالشاعر يصور يتيمة أمها تسألها بدموع حرة وقلب مجروح. يلا مع زينب تقول ظلي أنا يا يمه حضنك مين يدفيني بقبرك نايمة وانا وحيدة شلون تخليني يما انا زينب عد من تخليني طفلة بصغر سني ومنك تحرمي بس صورتك ظلت طيب يدرى والي أتمنى موتي حين ولا أجرع أهوالي يا يمه يا ريت ترجعي عالدار يا ريت ونقعد سوا ونتفيا بهالبيت يا ريتك تضميني للصدير يا ريت ونرجع مثل ما كنا سويا يا ونرجع مثل ما كنا يا سويا يا الله نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله اللهم لا تدع لنا في مقامنا هذا من ذنب إلا غفرته يا الله ولا هم إلا فرجته ولا سوء إلا صرفته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا حاجة إلا قضيتها ولا مريضا إلا شافيته وعافيته يا الله اللهم لتعجيل الظهور أموات الحضور سيما من اجتمعنا لأجلها وبسببها المأسوف على شبابها الدكتورة غادة ديب مصطفى اللهم ارحمها وتغمدها بواسع رحمتك وارزقها شفاعة الحسين يا الله إلى روحها الطاهرة وإلى روح من مضى من ذويها وأرحامها سيما من مضى من آل مصطفى وآل مروي وآل داغر وآل مكي وآل حيدر وآل سعد وعموم أهالي بنت شبيل وإلى روح الشهداء والعلماء وأمواتنا جميعا رحم الله من يقرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
رحم الله من أعاد الفاتحة. Brothers and sisters, Ghada Mustapha, she entered this world on Monday, February 11th, 1991, bringing light and hope for the parents, the neighbors, and the city. This date coincides with the 26th of the month of Rajab of 1411 Hijri. This month is one of the greatest months in the Islamic Hijri calendar. It is attributed to Allah Almighty. قال الرسول عليه وعلى آله الصلاة والسلام شعبان شهري ورجب شهر الله ورمضان شهر الأمة. And she died in the month of Muharram, the month attributed to the master of martyrs, Al-Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Blessed are those souls of the martyrs and blessed is the soul of Ghada Mustapha. Ladies and gentlemen, to speak of Ghada is to recall a person who was kind, faithful, decent, and intelligent young woman. Despite her short time on earth, 33 years, Ghada's impact was pounded. She touched the lives of her entire family and friends in countless ways, leaving a legacy of love, joy, and the spirit of youth. I've known the Mustapha family for many, many years, and I found a powerful bond that exists between the parents and their children and their grandchildren too. Even when the children are grown and independent, we have to realize that grief is not a problem we have to solve. It is an experience we have to carry and learn. Grief that tears everything down, and pain that will transport them to an entirely different universe. I've seen it in the eyes of my friend, the father, Dr. Deeb, every moment for the last 6.5 days. The mother is having a hard time accepting the fact that her daughter is not with her anymore. The question, brothers and sisters, is there any comfort for them and for us? The answer is limited to two important topics, two important factors: faith and patience. And we mentioned this before, and anything else, in my opinion, is nothing but a delusion. The Prophet, be peace upon him, and his progeny emphasized patience and submission to our Creator is the only solution on time like this. When his only son died, Ibrahim, what did the Prophet say? He took that son, and he took hold of Ibrahim, kissed him with tears on his face, and he said, verily, the eyes shed tears, and the heart is grieved, but we will not say anything except what is pleasing our Lord. We are saddened by your departure, O Ibrahim. إن العين لتدمع وإن القلب ليحزن ولا نقول إلا ما يرضي ربنا وإنا بفراقك يا إبراهيم لمحزونون. And we are certainly saddened by your departure, Ghada. And we must remember, brothers and sisters, that the Messenger of Allah is the excellent pattern or model for us as Muslims. According to the chapter 33, verse 21, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرِ. Allah directs us to relief and comfort again in His book and chapter 2, verse 153. Let me read that briefly too. You who believe, seek help with patience and prayer, for God is with those who patiently persevere. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم. الفاتحة. And now, brothers and sisters, I would like to call His Eminence Sheikh Osama Abdul Ghani to deliver his valuable speech as a Muslim scholar after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وارواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Brothers and sisters, it's been about a week now since our dear sister has departed this world and gone back to meet Allah. What I'd like to talk about today, very briefly, would be some lessons we can learn from her relationship with the Quran. Insha'Allah, the thawab both of you listening and me speaking will be gifted to our dear sister, and insha'Allah she will be benefiting. Brothers and sisters, normally when someone this young, this talented, such a good Muslim, a loving mother, small children, financially, alhamdulillah, doing well, healthy, good friend, it's natural, sometimes a question would come to our mind. Why? Why would Allah choose to take someone so wonderful back to Him so quickly? 33 years? And she did nothing but good, as attested to by her friends, by her family, even by this presence of mu'mineen and mu'minat in her honor. This all shows us that insha'Allah she was very close to Allah, close to Ahlul Bayt. So why? Here we're going to lean on the book of Allah, that book that our sister was so attached to. And I will share, insha'Allah, some of the wisdom from one of her books, the books that she used to read towards the end. One of the things that we learn from the Quran, brothers and sisters, this book of God, is that there are times when we don't understand God's wisdom. None of us can say for sure why it is that Allah chose to take such a wonderful person back so quickly. No one can say 100%. But there is something we can say 100%. The one thing that we do learn from the Quran about God is this. If we knew what God knew, the God that we serve, if we knew what God knew, we would choose to do it in the exact same way. I want to give you one example from the Holy Quran, the book of Allah, which kind of, again, puts a little bit of that calm in our hearts. The Quran tells us about a story of Prophet Musa, Moses, and Prophet Khidr. They were walking together and they came across some men who were working on a boat. This is an ayat of Quran, story in the Quran. Some men who were working in the boat. Poor men. These individuals who were working on the boat, they were eking out a living from this boat. They weren't doing well financially. They used to use this boat to provide for themselves and their families. You're familiar with this story. Allah commanded Nabi Khidr to put a hole in that boat. Those men were furious. Nabi Musa was livid. He said, why, ayat of Quran, why would you do that? Why put a hole? These men need this boat. Nabi Khidr must have just smiled knowingly. He had a command from Allah. God said to do this. Later in the story, in the ayat of Quran, Nabi Musa was allowed to speak to Khidr. What's the wisdom? Why did God command that this be done? Young men, they need this, they're feeding their family. Nabi Khidr explained to him. He said, actually, there was an evil king who was working his way down the river. This man would take the boats by force. When Allah commanded me to put a hole in the boat, when that evil king came by, he saw this boat's wrecked, they're fixing the boat, he left the boat. God was looking out for them and ensuring that they had a way of feeding their family. On the outside, it seemed like a setback. In reality, Allah was looking out for them. Now, brothers and sisters, what we learn from the Quran, and this, inshallah, especially for our young mothers, make sure we introduce God the right way. Introduce God as the Quran introduces him. We serve a very good God, brothers and sisters. Allah's not a monster. Allah's not a taskmaster. Sometimes people would introduce God in such a way that you better be on your A game. And even if you're on your A game, you'll be lucky, right? That's not the God of Islam. That's not the God of Islam. We serve a very good God. I want to give you one tiny example and move on from this point. Brothers and sisters, we believe that the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, the Imams, are representatives of God. They're not God. We don't believe the Imam is God. Yes, an Imam has a loftier station than even Anbiya other than our Prophet, but he's not God. He's a representative of God, and the best traits of God are represented in a corporal form in the Imam. If we can understand a little bit about the mercy of an Imam, who's nothing compared to God, maybe we would understand the mercy of God. In the time of Imam Rida, there was a terrible man named Harun al-Rashid. This terrible man named Harun al-Rashid sent one of his servants, one of his slaves, a terrible individual named Jaludi, to the house of the Imam. That man had specific instructions. He was to rob the Imam on the orders of the government, the authority, to take everything from even the women of the Imam until even the women had nothing but one pair of clothing, and that was it. He came to the house. When he came to the house, Imam Rida was a man of ghaira. He said, no, you can't come into the house. I, myself, will take all of the possessions, I'll give it to you, and the women will have nothing, just one pair of clothing that they own, but that's it. But not you, not a non-mahram. The man resisted, spoke, and then finally he agreed. And Imam Rida did that. Years later, Ma'mun had become the leader, the Taghut of the time. Ma'mun is now in the place of his father. But Ma'mun is now in charge, and even his inner circle don't know why Ma'mun would take Imam Rida, who's openly calling to his imamate, and make him the crown prince. A lot of people disagreed. One of the people who disagreed was Jaludi. Jaludi went against Ma'mun, he was imprisoned. Now, times changed, so now, on the apparent, Ma'mun is making Imam Rida be the crown prince, and he brings out the individuals who are opposed to Imam Rida. One of them is Jaludi. The first man comes out and he says something about Imam Rida, he is executed. Jaludi comes out. When Jaludi comes out, Imam Rida leans over to Ma'mun and he says, spare him for me. He did one kind thing, spare him for me. When he said that, Jaludi couldn't wrap his head around how the kind the Imam was. He said, whatever he just said, he couldn't believe the Imam was so kind. You did even one small thing. The Imam's trying to save your life. He couldn't believe that. He said, whatever he just said, do the opposite. Whatever he just said, he couldn't believe the Imam was that kind. That's the Imam, that's not God. So we serve a very, very good God. Now, for that very good God, if God is that good, if the Imam is that good, even someone who was wicked like that but did one good deed, the Imam recognizes, and God is even better, why then be scared of hell? If God is so good, why do we talk about akhirah? Why do we say it's so serious? The reason I explained last time I spoke to you, brothers and sisters, was this. That's because You and I, we say, Allah's not a monster. In the akhirah, we see what we did. Ayat of Quran. Allah says in the Quran, يَقُول وَيَقُول. He says, ذُوقُوا مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Taste that which you used to do. So it's not that Allah's a monster. We could, by our own actions, not be doing the right thing. If God is that good, what can we learn from the lesson of Sister Ghada? What can we learn from her life and her relationship with the Quran? Brothers and sisters, there was a book that Sister Ghada loved. That book is called Reclaiming the Narrative. That book is a Quranic masterpiece, brothers and sisters. A Quranic masterpiece. It teaches us how to introduce Islam, the Quran, to our children. In that book, they tell us what we should do, how we should introduce Islam. So now, as people who are remembering Sister Ghada, could we do that would be a practical lesson? If God's good, God's perfect, Islam is the perfect religion, what should we do? We should practically prepare for our akhirah. 3 points about Quranic Iman from that same book. Inshallah, we all benefit, and more importantly, our sister benefits. Brothers and sisters, if we want to prepare for our akhirah, the akhirah that's coming for all of us, we all know death is a reality, then the Quran tells us our faith, our Iman must have 3 characteristics. Our faith, our Iman, that's going to save us when we go to meet God, must have 3 characteristics. The first one, brothers and sisters, is intellectual conviction. We are not Muslims because our parents were Muslims. We're Muslims because Islam makes sense. Ayat of Quran. فَبَشِّرْ عِبَادٍ. Give good tidings to my servants. الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. Those who listen carefully to the word and follow the best of it. We follow Islam because it's the truth. Intellectual conviction. Not because I do what my dad did or my mom did. Number 2, in Islam, if you know, you have to act. Once you know better, you have to act on your knowledge. It's not mental acrobatics. Ayat of Quran. The Quran says, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. And obey Allah and His Messenger. In kuntum mu'mineen. If you are believers. Last one. Quranic faith, intellectual conviction, practical obedience. Last one. In Quranic faith, we can't pick and choose. All of Islam. Ayat of Quran again. أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Do we believe in part of the book and reject part of the book? Quranic faith is all of it. Having said that, as I mentioned before, this sister who was so wonderful, who did everything right, and we're all commemorating her death, she also taught us another very important lesson from the Quran. That lesson, brothers and sisters, is that the Quran applies now. That's why you saw her last Instagram post was supporting not being a second-class citizen and remembering the oppressed in the world right now. She remembered the people of Palestine. That's also a Quranic concept, something that we learn from the Ahlul Bayt, where we learn in the Hadith, إِنَّ الْقُرْآنَ حَيٌّ لَا يَمُوتُ وَالْآيَةُ حَيَّ لَا تَمُوتُ. The Quran is alive and does not die, and the ayat of the Quran are alive and do not die. They apply now. The lesson we're learning from the life of Sister Ghada is, for her, Islam was not just Pharaoh in the past, Moses in the past, Jesus in the past, Adam in the past. The Quran is alive. It applies now. Where is Musa now? Where is Hussein now? Where is Yazid now? That also is a message that we learn from our wonderful sister. We ask that Allah accept what was said and heard in His way. We end with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
For the people who are standing by the walls. There are many empty chairs here. Would you please come and sit here, please? Al-Fatiha. You heard Sheikh Osama mention the books and the scientific sources and references that the Marhuma Ghada she read. I was stunned to know that she read 5,000 of those. 5,000, 23 and a half years in her life spent on reading books, not only about science and medicine, about education, about things that you would never think about. All this is gone. This is the greatest loss. This is the real loss after her life. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker is a professor, lecturer, and author of several books on various topics, including Islamic studies. His books have been translated into several languages, including this book in my hand, Sabr, or Patience in Islam. And you remember I talked to you about the other day, on the day of funeral. And I still recommend reading this book. Sabr, or Patience in Islam, Hajj Talal Turfi. This book has been translated to many, many languages, including Indonesian language, whose students from different universities have each written a thesis on this book, research and clinical studies. Many studies have been describing how Hajj Talal thoughts on sabr as a therapy for mental illness or mental disorder. This has been a therapeutic breakthrough in medicine, and the concept of sabr is also a vehicle for reducing stress and psychiatric disorders, which what we need at a time like this. And I have the privilege to ask Hajj Talal Turfa if he would come and speak about these topics. I would, بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد, call for Hajj Talal Turfi to come to the podium and talk about sabr in Islam. بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
علماء فاضل، آل الفقيد، أيها الأخوة والأخوات، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الفاتحة. The sudden and tragic death of a loved one can shatter the lives of those left behind, leaving them grappling with overwhelming emotions and a profound sense of loss. Such was the case for the Mustapha and Marui families, who experienced the untimely passing of Dr. Ghada in a fatal accident. The news of the accident sent back shockwaves through the entire community, as the vibrant and compassionate soul of Dr. Ghada had touched the lives of many. As the family grappled with the harsh reality of their loss, they found solace in the profound concept of sabr, known as patience, which played a crucial role in helping them navigate through this harrowing ordeal. Sabr, patience, proved to be an invaluable source of strength for the bereaved family, demonstrating a remarkable resilience in the face of unrelenting grief. It enabled them to manage their emotions, support each other, and gradually come to terms with the irreparable void left by Dr. Ghada's absence. The Mustapha and Mroui families found that sabr provided them with fortitude and resilience needed to cope with the overwhelming grief and loss caused by the tragic accident. It acted as a soothing balm, instilling a sense of hope and comfort as they traversed the turbulent waters of mourning and healing. Furthermore, the transformative power of sabr extended beyond the immediate aftermath of the tragedy, as it continued to serve as a beacon of strength throughout their journey of grief and recovery. It became a source of inner peace and well-being, offering them the emotional fortitude necessary to navigate the complex emotions accompanying such a profound loss. In essence, the Mustapha Mroui family's experience underscores the profound importance of sabr during times of tragedy. It is in these moments of profound loss and despair that the virtue of sabr shines brightest, offering a guiding light amidst the darkness and a pathway towards healing and eventual acceptance. As they continue to honor the memory of Dr. Ghada, the Mustapha and Mroui families hold onto the invaluable lessons of patience and resilience, knowing that they will forever be a source of solace and strength in their journey forward. We often talk about sabr during eulogies, but what is it? And what makes it an important and profound virtue in our lives? Sabr is an Arabic term that translates to patience in English, but also includes many attributes, some of which are endurance, perseverance, forbearance, resolution, self-restraint, and constancy. It refers to the ability to remain steadfast and maintain composure in the face of adversity, difficulty, or pain. It is considered an important virtue in Islam and is recognized as a powerful tool for coping with life's challenges. There are 93 verses in the Quran that contain the word sabr, and 10 of these verses each contain the word sabr twice. Therefore, the word sabr and its derivatives occur 103 times in the Quran. The most important frequent derivative of sabr is isbouh, 19 times, followed by sabaru, 15 times, and al-sabirin, 15 times, as these three derivatives constitute about 1/2 of the total verses on sabr in the Quran. There are 45 chapters in the Quran which contain the word sabr, 9 in Surah Al-Baqarah, 8 verses in Surah Al-Ali Imran, 8 in Surah Al-Kahf, 7 in Surah Al-Nahl, and so forth. The concept of sabr emphasizes the importance of exercising patience, perseverance, and self-restraint during times of hardship. It encourages individuals to remain calm and composed, to avoid despair, and to trust in God's wisdom and plan, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. We need sabr because it provides us with the emotional strength and resilience necessary to endure difficult circumstances. It allows us to manage our reactions and emotions, to maintain hope and optimism, and to navigate through challenging times with greater composure and inner peace. In essence, sabr is regarded as a source of inner strength and spiritual well-being, enabling individuals to endure trials and tribulations with grace and dignity. It serves as a reminder that difficulties are a part of life and that exercising patience can lead to personal growth, inner peace, and a deeper sense of faith and resilience. We need to practice sabr in both good times and bad times. It's not easy to maintain a balanced lifestyle when we're wealthy, just like it's difficult to remain hopeful during times of poverty. Sabr is relevant in extreme situations, whether it's dealing with happiness or misery, wealth or poverty, good health or illness, being married or divorced. It's crucial to practice moderation and charity in times of wealth and good fortune, while being patient is essential in times of adversity. In short, Sabr is needed in every aspect of life, including dealing with the tragic loss of Dr. Ghada. While dhikr, remembrance, is the key to success, miftah al-falah, sabr, patience, is the key to relief, miftah al-faraj. And like mind over matter, we need to have deep concentration in order to surface sabr from within us to be actionable. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib reminds us that patience is to faith what the head is to the body. What good is a body without its head? What good is faith without its patience? فإن الصبر من الإيمان كالرأس من الجسد ولا خير في جسد لا رأس معه ولا في إيمان لا صبر معه. Sabr is not reactive, it is proactive. Sabr transcends into what we call taqwa, consciousness of God. Thereafter, everything we do is qurbatan ilallah, to become nearer to God. Without sabr, we are like ships lost at sea, never knowing which direction to turn. Sabr is the compass that directs and guides us to dhikr, remembrance of God, in order to reach sirat al-mustaqim, the straight path. فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفروني أيها الذين آمنوا استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين. Therefore remember me, remember God. I will remember you and be thankful to me and be not ungrateful. O you who believe, seek help with patience and prayer, for God is those who patiently persevere. Therefore, what is it that defined the life of Dr. Ghada? I think what defined her was the surah in the Quran entitled Al-Asr. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Verily, mankind is at a loss except those who have faith, practice good deeds, speak and spread the truth, and remain patient. This surah consists of 14 Arabic words, which are the tests that God has given mankind. The tests are the 4 canonical virtues of faith, good deeds, truth, and patience. Faith leads to patience, and patience leads to faith on the straight path of good deeds and truth. Al-Iman yastadil al-sabr wa sabr yastadil al-iman ala sirat al-mustaqim of amal al-salih wal-haq. Dr. Ghada self-actualized in these 4 virtues, for she was a person of faith who performed good deeds. She spoke and spread the truth, and her patience was the vehicle by which she self-actualized in these virtues. To Ghada's parents, Deeb Mustapha and Hajj Noel, to her husband, Dr. Mruwe, and their families, my wife, Hajj Na'mat, and I extend our sincere condolences. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We belong to Allah, and to Him we return. Sadaqallahu Aliyul Azim. Al-Fatiha.
Ibrahim Muhammad Dagher is a nephew of the late Ghada. He will talk about his love for his aunt and how much did he miss her. Please welcome Ibrahim with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Al-Fatiha. My name is Ibrahim Dagher and I'm Ghada's first nephew. For the past 14 years, every moment I spent with her has been a treasure filled with love, with joy, love, and unforgettable memories. Whether we were surrounded by her wonderful family or sharing quiet moments, just the 2 of us. Ghada's warmth and kindness were always evident. Ghada was the heartbeat of our family gatherings. She had a unique way of making every event special, ensuring everyone was smiling and having a great time. Her laughter was contagious and her spirit brought light to any room she entered. Beyond her role as an aunt, Ghada was an exemplary mother to her 3 children. She was a pillar of strength and wisdom, always striving to do the right thing and setting a powerful example for her kids, nieces, and nephews. Ghada's faith was a big part of who she was. She was a devoted Muslim who lived her life with sincerity and devotion. She prayed on time, regularly recited the Quran, and upheld the values of compassion and kindness. Ghada's presence in our lives was a blessing, and her memory will forever be etched in our hearts. We will always remember her as a source of love, joy, and inspiration. Assalamu alaikum.
The next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Malak Makki, the beloved sister of المرحومة غادة بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
الفاتحة. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Angela Mustapha, Ghada Allah Yarhama's sister, and I would like to thank everyone who has been supporting us throughout this week. It means a lot to my family and I to see the outpouring of love from all those who were touched by Ghada's short life here on earth. At 7:59 a.m. last Friday, I was stopped at a red light simultaneously with Ghada, only miles away. While stopped, my friend instinctively warned me not to cross the light and trust other vehicles, specifically in that area. I heeded the warning and crossed safely. My sister Ghada's fate was different that day. Although she responsibly crossed that light, there was no way she could have seen what was coming her way. The high speeds of the other vehicle were beyond normal measures. In that moment, a life was taken away at the young, tender age of 33. About 2 months ago, Ghada and I would wake up each morning and start our day with a walk. Sometimes we'd walk in Lavagood, sometimes we'd walk to Ghada's favorite coffee shop. During our walks, we were always extra cautious of our surroundings. I always felt an overbearing sense to protect Ghada, as if deep down I knew I needed to. This feeling of overprotection is something we all had towards Ghada. Although we knew she didn't need us, I would always make sure she crossed safely, like a mother would to her child, as a way to ensure she is okay. It was an instinct in us that we came to learn the truths of last Friday when she woke up on an ordinary sunny morning to go to her favorite Pilates studio. The ordinary day quickly became the furthest from ordinary and quickly turned into an incomprehensible nightmare that led to the loss of our beloved Ghada. The struggle of processing the incomprehensible led me to blame myself for not making her cancel class that day. That thought didn't sit well with me because we all knew her fate that day was to depart this world and transit into the next, no matter where she was or what she was doing. This is Allah's plan, and we have trust that He is the best of planners. During our walks, we planned, and planned some more. We mapped out our next few months, how she was going to be the one to tell my mom that she needs to do Thanksgiving the day before. Ghada had to be the one to tell my mom of the change because we all knew that if Ghada asked, it would be honored. We planned how we were going to convince Rida's mom to move Billy's birthday to Christmas Day so we can have Christmas Eve dinner together. We planned and Allah planned, for He is the best of planners. Musa would show up to Ghada's house every Saturday morning. He would always tell my mom that he didn't know why, but he just felt comfort and ease at her house. In reality, we all felt that way. Myself, Maha, Musa, Wanda, my parents. Ghada's house was the house we all ended up at whenever we were not sure what to do with our day. In the past month, my kids asked to go to Ghada's house daily, and many times we would go and not find her there. It was as if we were unknowingly preparing ourselves for what's to come. Comfort and ease. That is what Ghada made you feel, and that is why so many were drawn to her. Comfort and ease. That is what we felt for her when she passed. We felt for her the level of comfort and ease that she so effortlessly made everyone else feel. We cried and screamed and cried more than we ever thought we were capable of. We cried for our own selfish reasons. We cried because we lost a part of us, our best friend, the person we would call first whenever we needed anything. Before resigning, Ghada was also our doctor, as she was for many of you. She always had her medications dosed out, and interestingly enough, the weights of all our children memorized. I won't brush up on her remarkable duties as a doctor. I'll leave that memory for you to hold on to, as I am confident she touched the lives of so many of you. All of Friday and Saturday, we asked Ghada to tell us if she was okay, if she was happy, if she was afraid. On Saturday night, we came across a poem that struck a chord with us, a poem that answered all of our questions, a poem that even mentioned her son Yusuf's name. The poem is titled When I Die by Rumi. I encourage you to read this poem tonight and feel the enlightenment that we all felt that day. There is nothing that can fully prepare you for a tragedy such as the one my family and I faced, but Allah subtly aligns you with people and events in the times leading up to such heartbreak. You start to paint the picture after the struggle, and you realize His mercy even more when you unveil and see His inner workings. I say this because a small group of our friends began a religious discussion group, and during these gatherings, we started to dive into the process of unlearning our tainted ideologies and relearning to love Him through His love, mercy, and compassion. We grew a newfoundness to our Creator as we began to see Him as a companion, a part of us, and through that, a connection sparked. A connection we needed the moment we found out the tragic news. We began to see that going back to your Creator is a graduation from this life, not something to fear, for He is all-encompassing love, and there is no place like home, your final home, and resting place that is promised to be better than this life. We realized that death is actually such a beautiful transition of the soul from physical life to eternal life, and Ghada is nearer now than she ever was before, if only we knew. Ghada leaves behind an entire community who honored her and a family who will never be the same again. She left a gaping hole in the hearts of her family, including her brother Musa, sisters Wanda, Maha, and myself. Her brother-in-laws Usama, Mustapha, Hamad, and sister-in-law Zainab loved her dearly and will forever be changed. She was an amazing aunt to Ibrahim, Yasmin, and Ali Dagher, alongside Zainab, Ali, and Zain Makkeh, Zahra and Zainab Haidar, Adam and Zakaria Mustafa. Her father-in-law Wissam and mother-in-law Iman loved her dearly and don't know how to go on in life without her. She was the epitome of what a mother should strive to be to Yusuf, Maryam, and Hassan. She leaves behind her patient husband and best friend Rida. We lost a sister, yet we gained a brother in him. I believe that Allah chose Rida for Ghada because no one else could endure what Rida is going through right now, and Allah never burdens a soul more than what He can handle. But most of all, she leaves behind my mom and my dad, Nawal and Deeb Mustapha, who without them, none of us would have had the honor of knowing and loving such a beautiful soul. She was their backbone. She made them proud. She lifted their spirits. She gave them purpose. I pray Allah grants them the patience to continue this life and to mend their broken hearts with the comfort and ease of knowing Ghada is with Allah, for there is no better place to be. We want everyone to know that she was a sister, a daughter, an aunt, a wife, and most importantly, she was a mom. For these titles are far more honorable and worthy of respect than any other title that was given to Ghada throughout her life. Alfatiha. Thank you.
Walk it on.
In conclusion, brothers and sisters, let us listen to the faithful husband of Ghada and the father of 3 beautiful children, Yusuf, Maryam, and Hassan. Dr. Rida will open his heart to talk to us, and we will listen to every word what he would say. Please share his pain and listen to him بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Somewhere Ghada is looking down and she knows I'm getting on a microphone when a program should be concluding, and she's laughing because she knows that I'm going to speak a little bit. So she always knew I dwelled on conversation. But I'd just like to speak a little bit more about her. And God knows if you catch me anywhere, you'll probably get an earful from me. When I first met Ghada, we were in high school. We were juniors in high school, and a friend of mine looked at me and said, that's Ghada Mustapha right there. And I looked at her, maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, and I just thought to myself, how could someone like that hold such a high stature, within everyone's eyes? I quickly knew Ghada. I quickly got to know her. We went through our senior year together. We spent a lot of time together. We had all our classes together. To be honest with you, the summer after we graduate, I thought I'd never see her again. She was definitely on to bigger and better things. Ghada had a high trajectory, and I thought to myself, why would she waste her time with someone like me? She was in Lebanon that summer, and ironically, back in 2009, phones weren't really, some people had phones, but they weren't too common as they are now. I got an email just one random day, just saying hello, and I had to pull up that email. She just said hello, and I said hello back, and I think that from that moment forward, I knew that Ghada was probably the person that I'd spend the rest of my life with. We moved forward to when Ghada and I started to know for certain that we wanted to get married together. I remember she told me a story. I was driving back from school, and she told me, I remember it vividly. She told me, I just had a bad dream, and something bad happened. And she never shared with me what happened. She just asked me for one promise. The promise was to always be with her. And I told her I'll always be there with her. To this day, I don't know what that dream was, but I hope I fulfilled that promise. We had a lot of happy times between that moment, but I'd also like to share some difficult times that we had together. About 6 years ago, one of my good friends, Yusuf Shami, which many of you know, was diagnosed with cancer. The reason why I bring up this story in this time is because I think it's important to also see how she supported me during these times. When I found out he had cancer, we had spent the first day in the hospital together, the first day I had seen him. And I came home, and it was just dark, and she was just sitting on the couch, and she was crying. She didn't know Yusuf that well. We obviously knew his sister Iman. His sister Iman had graduated with us, but she didn't know him that well. And I thought to myself, why is she crying? And then, I just knew that that was just the type of soul she had. We hadn't had kids yet, so it was a lot of happy times between the time we first met till that point. There wasn't a lot of downs, it was just a lot of ups. At that moment, she told me anything that I needed to do, she would support. And we were just married. We were, newlyweds. And for the next, month or so, we spent a lot of time, obviously, with Yusuf. And not once did she waver. Not once did she ask me to come home. Not once did she ask me where I was. And mind you, during this time, it's not like she sat and enjoyed herself. She just sat thinking. Just sat thinking about the whole situation, felt for his parents, felt for his family. And that is just a summary of who Ghada is. She always was that person that thought about everyone. Everyone who interacted with her knew that she always made sure that they were comfortable, that everyone around them was comfortable. She'd go to extents to make sure that everyone that wanted something, it was met. And she helped me through that time after his passing. And that from that moment on, we were very death conscious. We were very aware of how fast someone can go. We were very aware, and we were very happy. When we welcomed our son Yusuf, she always said that, you know, she would never, she just didn't understand at that time, and neither did I, what true love was until Yusuf came. When Yusuf came to our lives, we knew what true love was. I seen how she looked at Yusuf, and I seen how he looked at her. She spent a lot of time with Yusuf. You know, obviously it was during COVID, so we were locked up, but we weren't trapped. We were blooming. We just spent time together walking around. That's all we needed. As I mentioned to everyone, and as everyone knows, he's the resemblance of her. And he bears the burden of reminding me of my wife and one of my best friends. When we found out we were pregnant with Maryam, I think the biggest question to us was, how could we love more, right? We already had everything we ever wanted. You know, how could we love more? And then Maryam came. And I don't think it even took a second for us to know that our capacity to love grew. It grew even more and more as every day went on. As Maryam began to laugh and just be the little maniac that she was just so full of life, just like Ghada. And she used to run around the house, and we just used to love her more. She's doing, you know, just normal toddler things, but they were the world to us. A year and a half ago, we found out we were pregnant with Hassan, and that capacity grew even more. And as we mentioned multiple times, that's the time that Ghada knew that she just wanted to be around them. She didn't care about individual success. She didn't care about anything. All she cared about was being around Hassan. And she wanted to spend time with him. And she just wanted to be with him. I fast forward throughout our life to this last week. They say that when someone's about to pass, that they know that they're ready, that they're happy, they're content. They have this aura around them. We were driving back from her parents' house, and I don't know why, I just asked her, if you do it all over again, would you do anything different? And she said nothing. She said, I want to do anything different. On the last day, it was all smiles. It was all smiles. Many of you know my birthday was coming up, so she had brought me a gift. In Ghada fashion, it was nothing extravagant. It was just something I really needed. I've been wearing her slippers around the house for the last 2 years. I totally destroyed her slippers. So I was just working, you know, I work at home, and I just feel a piece of plastic on my foot, and I look down and it's a brand new slipper. And she was just happy that it fit. And she's like, now you can wear a decent slipper around. That night, she told me, you know, forget your diet, forget anything that you're trying to do, I'm making your favorite food today. And she did, and we shared that last meal together. Ghada always knew I loved any type of sub, and she made it for me on the last meal. And the reason why that's different than a lot of things is because Ghada really just always respected anything that I wanted to do. Whether she agreed or disagreed, she just always supported me, and I hope I supported her. And that last evening, Hassan woke up at around 10:30. He wouldn't go back to sleep, but he wasn't crying. He just wasn't tired. So she brought him down, and we sat together. And he just sat with us. And we just sat and just had a good time. The last moment I see Ghada, she's going up the stairs and she's squeezing his thighs. And she's squeezing him really close to her. And he's giggling and she's giggling. It's a memory I'll never forget. And my last words that I just like to say is kind of like an open dialogue with Ghada. Ghada, only God knows how much I'm broken right now. Only God knows how much my heart hurts. But the man you first met is the man that's here today, and the man that will understand the responsibility that's ahead of him. Understand the responsibility to look at our 3 kids and make sure they're taken care of. When they smile, laugh at me, I smile, laugh back at them. No matter how I feel, I will always do it. We will do everything that you ever wanted to do. I'll be with them every step of the way, as long as God allows me the opportunity. To be quite frank, we always knew this day was coming. We always talked about this. We had a plan, and we'll stay with that plan. We know what we have to do. We know our responsibility. We just always thought it would be me that would go and not her. But it's okay. I now know that I would have never wanted this to be her. I would have never wanted her to be in this situation. I would have never wanted her to bear this weight. So as I know that she's in a better place, and I know that she's watching above us, we'll be here as a proud reminder of her. As Angela began her speech, I'd like to conclude the same way. I thank everyone for everything that they've done for us. I know she's also looking down laughing, knowing that I've had to accept so much support, and she knows I would never accept it, but I definitely need it. And the amount of gratitude that I owe everyone, the first responders and the police officers that sat with me on the gravel, the ones who respected anything that we wanted in that moment. They helped us through that time. They helped us respect her body, and they helped us cherish all of our memories with her. And I thank everyone. To call anyone anything other than family right now is a disservice. Everyone has been like our family, and everyone will remain like our family. Please continue to knock on our door. Please continue to come, but don't come feeling sorry for us. Come to enjoy time with us. Come to enjoy the memory of Ghada. Come to enjoy time with our kids. I end with this. Ghada is more than a memory. She's a part of all of our souls. And I thank God for the opportunity to have spent even 1 minute with her, let alone the last 15 years of my life. I look forward until the day I see you again. May God comfort you until we're there. May God have mercy on you. And may God support our kids in any shortcomings that I have. Thank you everyone for everything. May God bless everyone. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And finally, brothers and sisters, Commissioner Hassan Baidoun, he presented this award. This is a resolution memorandum for the memory of the late Ghada. So I want to give this to her husband, Dr. Reda. And finally, brothers, thank you very much. May Allah bless the soul of Ghada Mustapha and the souls of your loved one. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.